Chosen one, you feel it, don't you? That quiet pressure building in your chest like a storm that hasn't broken yet. You've tried to ignore it, tried to drown it out with noise, distractions, the routine of ordinary days, but it keeps returning, louder, closer, more urgent. And now, as Sunday approaches, that feeling is no longer subtle. It's a warning. Something is shifting, and whether you're ready or not, you've been placed at the center of it. This isn't fear without reason. It's recognition. Deep down, you already know. You've always known that you were never meant to live an ordinary life. Things have happened to you that don't quite make sense. Moments where time felt like it slowed down. Situations where you should have failed but somehow didn't. Encounters that felt too perfectly timed to be coincidence. These are not random. They are signs, signals, preparations. But here's the truth no one told you. Being chosen was never about comfort. It was never about being special in a way that makes life easier. It was about responsibility, pressure, transformation. And now, you've reached a point where everything you've been through is leading to one unavoidable moment, the final test. Sunday is not just another day. It's a threshold. You may already feel resistance building around you. People acting strangely, plans falling apart, sudden doubts creeping into your mind. This is not coincidence. When you begin to step closer to your purpose, opposition appears, not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it comes disguised as fatigue, procrastination, or even the voices of those closest to you telling you to stay where you are, to stay small, to stay safe. But safe is exactly what you were never meant to be. The danger you're facing isn't just external, it's internal. It's the part of you that hesitates, the part that questions whether you're truly capable, the voice that whispers, "What if you fail?" That voice is the real test, because if it controls you, then everything you've been prepared for, everything you've endured, will collapse before it even begins. Think back. Every hardship you faced wasn't punishment, it was training. Every disappointment forced you to grow stronger. Every betrayal sharpened your awareness. Every moment of isolation taught you how to stand alone. You weren't being broken, you were being forged. And now the forging is complete. But here's where it gets real. A test is not something you can prepare for at the last second. It reveals what's already inside you. And Sunday will reveal everything. There will be a moment. It might seem small. It might even feel ordinary at first. But something inside you will recognize it instantly. A decision, a confrontation, an opportunity, a risk. And in that moment you will have two choices. Step forward into who you are meant to become, or retreat back into who you used to be. Retreat feels easier, familiar, comfortable, but it comes at a cost, because once you turn away from this moment, you don't just go back, you stay stuck. The same patterns, the same doubts, the same quiet feeling that you were meant for more but never acted on it. Stepping forward, though, that's where the danger lies, because growth is dangerous, transformation is dangerous. Becoming who you're meant to be will disrupt everything that no longer aligns with you. Relationships may shift, old habits will break, the version of you that people are used to will begin to disappear. And not everyone will understand that. Not everyone will support it. But this was never about them. This is about you. You might be wondering, why now? Why does it feel so intense all of a sudden? Why does Sunday carry this weight? The answer is simple: timing. There are moments in life where everything converges, where your preparation meets opportunity, where your internal growth demands external action. And when that moment arrives, it doesn't wait, it calls. And right now, it's calling you. You've probably noticed the signs getting stronger, dreams that feel more vivid, thoughts that won't leave you alone, a sense that something is about to happen, even if you can't fully explain it. This is your awareness sharpening, your instincts waking up, your purpose rising to the surface. But awareness alone is not enough. Action is what completes it. That's why this is a test, not of your knowledge, not of your past, but of your courage. Because courage is what separates those who remain stuck from those who transform. It's not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite it. And make no mistake, you will feel fear. That's part of it. That's how you know it matters. If it didn't matter, it wouldn't scare you. But fear is also a gatekeeper. It stands between you and your next level, testing whether you're ready, whether you're willing, whether you trust yourself enough to step into the unknown. Sunday is that gate, and the danger, the real danger, is hesitating too long, because hesitation creates doubt. Doubt creates paralysis, and paralysis keeps you exactly where you are. The longer you wait, the louder that inner voice becomes, trying to convince you to step back, to delay, to think about it more. But you've already thought about it. You've already felt it. You already know. This is not the time for overthinking. This is the time for alignment, for trusting the part of you that has been guiding you all along, even when you didn't fully understand it. You are not here by accident. You are not feeling this by accident, and Sunday will not arrive by accident. Everything is connected. But let's be clear, passing this test doesn't mean everything suddenly becomes easy. It doesn't mean all your problems disappear overnight. What it means is that you shift, you step into a higher version of yourself, one that sees clearly, acts decisively, and refuses to shrink back into old limitations. Failing the test, however, that's where things get heavy, because failing doesn't mean the opportunity is gone forever. It means it repeats the same lessons, the same challenges, the same inner conflict, over and over again, until you finally face it. And each time it returns, it becomes harder, heavier, more urgent. That's why this moment matters so much. This is your chance to break the cycle, to prove to yourself more than anyone that you are ready. So what do? You prepare, not by overthinking, but by grounding yourself, by becoming aware of your thoughts, by recognizing fear when it shows up and refusing to let it control your actions, by reminding yourself of everything you've already overcome. You don't need to become someone new. You need to step fully into who you already are. Because the chosen one isn't a title you earn, it's a role you accept. And acceptance requires action. When Sunday comes, don't wait for perfect conditions. They won't exist. Don't wait for complete certainty. It won't come. What you will have is a moment, a feeling, a knowing. That's enough. Trust it, move with it, and most importantly, don't turn away from it. Because on the other side of this test is something you've been moving toward your entire life. Clarity, strength, direction, a sense of purpose that no one can take from you. But to reach it, you have to walk through the uncertainty. You have to face the danger. You have to choose. So when that moment arrives, remember this. You were prepared for this long before you realized it. Every step you've taken, every challenge you've faced, every doubt you've pushed through, it all led here. This is not the end of something, it's the beginning. And whether you step into it or step away from it is entirely up to you. The idea of the chosen one in this script isn't about someone suddenly becoming important overnight. It's about a person who has been shaped quietly, consistently, and often painfully by everything they've gone through. The key element here is that this preparation was unconscious. At the time, none of those struggles felt meaningful or purposeful. They felt random, unfair, even exhausting. Moments of failure, rejection, confusion, or isolation didn't come with explanations. They didn't feel like steps forward, they felt like setbacks. But the script reframes all of that, suggesting that those experiences were never wasted. They were shaping something deeper beneath the surface. Every hardship, according to this perspective, had a role. The disappointments weren't just emotional blows, they were teaching resilience. The times when things didn't go as planned forced adaptability. Situations where trust was broken sharpened awareness and judgment. Even loneliness served a function. It pushed the individual to become self-reliant, to understand themselves without outside noise. None of this training was labeled as such in the moment, which is why it often felt so heavy. But looking back, there's a pattern. Each challenge contributed a specific strength or insight that wouldn't have developed otherwise. What makes this idea powerful is the shift in meaning. Instead of seeing the past as a series of unfortunate events, it becomes a deliberate process of preparation. The person wasn't being held back, they were being built up in a way that required pressure. Just like something forged in heat becomes stronger, these experiences created endurance, emotional depth, and a kind of inner awareness that can't be taught in easy circumstances. This reframing gives purpose to pain, not in a superficial way, but in a way that connects directly to growth. As the script builds toward a critical moment, it suggests that all of this preparation wasn't random, it was leading somewhere specific. The individual is now approaching a point where those accumulated lessons will be tested. This moment isn't necessarily dramatic on the surface. It could be a decision, an opportunity, or a confrontation that demands clarity and courage. What matters is that it requires the exact qualities that were developed through past struggles. Without those experiences, the person wouldn't be ready to face it. There's also an underlying message about awareness. The person may not have realized they were being prepared, but now they're beginning to see it. That recognition changes how they approach the present. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the pressure of the moment, they can draw confidence from everything they've already survived. It becomes evidence that they are capable, even if they still feel uncertain. Ultimately, this idea transforms the narrative of struggle into one of quiet construction. It suggests that growth doesn't always look like progress in real time, and preparation doesn't always feel intentional, but when the moment arrives, everything starts to make sense. The challenges, the setbacks, the unexpected turns, they all connect, revealing that the person was never just enduring life. They were being shaped for something that now requires them to step forward and use everything they've gained. The script creates a sense of urgency by turning Sunday into more than just a day. It becomes a symbolic deadline, a moment that carries weight and meaning beyond the ordinary flow of time. By focusing on a specific day, it pulls everything together and gives the audience something concrete to anticipate. It's no longer a vague idea of someday or eventually. It's now. It's approaching, and that immediacy is what builds tension. Sunday is framed as a final test, not because it's literally the end of everything, but because it represents a turning point. The word final carries emotional pressure. It suggests that this is a decisive moment, one that will reveal something important about the person. It implies that all the preparation, all the experiences, all the internal growth has been leading here. Whether that's objectively true or not, the framing makes it feel real, and that feeling is what drives engagement and intensity. What strengthens this tension even more is the idea that something significant will appear, but it won't necessarily be obvious or dramatic. The script hints that it could come in a subtle form, a decision, an opportunity, a conversation, or even a quiet realization. That uncertainty makes the moment feel unpredictable. The audience doesn't know exactly what to expect, only that it will matter. This keeps them mentally alert, scanning their own life for possibilities, which deepens the emotional connection to the message. Another key element is the insistence that this moment cannot be avoided. This removes the option of passive delay. Often people cope with pressure by telling themselves they can deal with it later, but the script cuts off that escape. It suggests that when Sunday arrives, the situation will demand a response. Ignoring it or stepping away isn't framed as a neutral choice. It becomes part of the test itself. Even inaction becomes a decision with consequences. This idea taps into a common psychological experience, the feeling that certain moments in life define direction. Whether it's taking a risk, speaking up, making a change, or facing something uncomfortable, there are points where hesitation feels heavier than action. By placing that feeling onto Sunday, the script amplifies it, turning an abstract concept into something immediate and personal. The tension also comes from the unknown outcome. Passing or failing isn't described in clear, measurable terms, which allows the audience to project their own fears and hopes onto the situation. For one person, it might mean choosing courage over fear. For another, it could be letting go of something familiar. This flexibility makes the test feel universally relevant, while still feeling deeply individual. Ultimately, the build-up around Sunday works because it combines urgency, uncertainty, and inevitability. It creates the sense that something meaningful is about to happen, that it will require a response, and that the response will matter. Even if the day itself passes like any other, the psychological impact remains. The audience has been primed to see their actions and decisions through the lens of significance, which is where the real power of the script lies. The script shifts the idea of danger away from something physical or external and places it entirely within the individual. This is what makes it feel more personal and in many ways more intense. External threats can often be identified, avoided, or confronted directly, but internal obstacles are harder to recognize because they operate quietly, often blending into everyday thoughts and emotions. Fear, doubt, hesitation, and the pull of the comfort zone don't announce themselves as enemies. They feel familiar, even protective. That's what gives them so much power. Fear is presented as the first layer of this internal danger. It doesn't always show up as panic. More often it appears as subtle resistance. It might sound like a reasonable excuse, a delay, or a cautious voice suggesting that now isn't the right time. The script highlights how fear disguises itself as logic, making it easy to justify inaction. But underneath that logic is the instinct to avoid risk, even when that risk is necessary for growth. This kind of fear doesn't block action directly. It slowly convinces the person not to take action at all. Doubt works alongside fear, reinforcing it. It questions capability, timing, and worthiness. It asks, what if you're not ready? Or what if you fail? These thoughts don't need evidence to feel convincing. They feed off uncertainty. The more a person thinks about them, the stronger they become. The script suggests that doubt isn't a reflection of reality, but a barrier that distorts perception. It shifts focus away from past achievements and strengths, and instead magnifies potential failure. Hesitation is the result of fear and doubt combining. It's the moment where action is possible but delayed, and in that delay, momentum is lost. The script treats hesitation as dangerous because it creates a window where the mind can spiral deeper into overthinking. What could have been a simple, decisive step becomes complicated and overwhelming. The longer the hesitation lasts, the harder it becomes to move forward. Eventually, the opportunity may pass, not because it was impossible, but because it was never acted on. Then there's the comfort zone, the most deceptive of all. Unlike fear or doubt, it doesn't feel negative. It feels safe, stable, predictable. It offers relief from pressure and uncertainty, but the script reframes it as a trap. Staying in the comfort zone means avoiding growth, avoiding change, and ultimately avoiding the very experiences that lead to progress. It keeps a person in a cycle where nothing truly improves, even if nothing feels immediately wrong. What makes these internal obstacles the real danger is that they don't just block one moment, they can shape an entire life. External challenges come and go, but internal patterns, if left unchecked, repeat endlessly. The script emphasizes that overcoming these obstacles isn't about eliminating them completely, but about recognizing them and choosing not to be controlled by them. By focusing on the internal battle, the message becomes more empowering as well. If the danger were purely external, the individual might feel helpless against it. But if the main obstacles are internal, then there's also control. Awareness becomes the first step, seeing fear, doubt, and hesitation for what they are. The next step is action despite them. In the end, the script suggests that the greatest challenge isn't the situation itself, but the response to it. The outcome depends less on what happens externally, and more on whether the individual can move past their own mental barriers. That's where the real test lies, not in facing the world, but in facing themselves. At the center of the script is a moment that forces a clear and unavoidable choice. It strips away the illusion that life just happens passively and instead places responsibility directly in the hands of the individual. This choice is not presented as something abstract or distant. It's immediate, personal, and defining. On one side is growth, transformation, and movement into the unknown. On the other is retreat, familiarity, and the quiet repetition of what has already been lived. Stepping forward into growth sounds powerful, but the script makes it clear that it isn't easy or comfortable. Growth demands change, and change disrupts stability. It asks the person to act differently than they have before, to take risks they might have avoided, and to trust themselves in situations where the outcome isn't guaranteed. This path is uncertain, and that uncertainty is what makes it intimidating. However, it's also what makes it meaningful. Transformation only happens when something shifts, and that shift requires action beyond previous patterns. On the other side of the choice is retreating into old patterns. This doesn't look dramatic or obviously negative at first. In fact, it often feels like relief. Choosing what's familiar reduces immediate stress. It avoids confrontation, risk, and the discomfort of stepping into something new. But the script reveals the hidden cost of this decision. While it may feel safe in the moment, it leads to stagnation. The same thoughts, the same behaviors, and the same outcomes begin to repeat, creating a cycle that becomes harder to break over time. This repeating cycle is one of the most important ideas in the script. It suggests that avoiding the challenge doesn't eliminate it, it delays it. The same lessons return in different forms, the same situations reappear with slight variations, and the same internal conflicts resurface again and again. Over time, this can create frustration and a sense of being stuck, as if nothing is changing despite the passage of time. The script implies that this isn't bad luck, but the result of consistently choosing comfort over growth. What makes this choice so powerful is that it defines direction. It's not just about a single moment, it's about the path that follows. Stepping forward opens the door to new experiences, new challenges, and ultimately a new version of oneself. Retreating closes that door, keeping everything contained within the limits of what is already known. One leads to expansion, the other to repetition. There's also an emotional weight tied to this decision. Deep down, most people can sense when they are holding themselves back. Choosing to retreat might bring temporary ease, but it can also come with a lingering feeling of missed potential. On the other hand, choosing growth may bring fear, but it also brings a sense of alignment, a feeling of moving in the right direction, even if it's difficult. The script doesn't present this choice as something that can be avoided or ignored. Even doing nothing becomes a decision in itself, often defaulting to the path of least resistance. That's why it emphasizes awareness, recognizing that this moment matters and that the response to it will shape what comes next. In the end, the defining choice is less about right or wrong, and more about movement versus stagnation. It challenges the individual to decide whether they are willing to face discomfort in order to evolve, or whether they will remain within the boundaries of what feels safe but ultimately limiting. This tension between growth and retreat is what gives the script its depth, because it reflects a real and ongoing struggle that many people face in different forms throughout their lives. The script ultimately ties everything back to a simple but demanding principle. Success is not determined by perfect timing, perfect preparation, or perfect clarity, but by courage expressed through action in the exact moment it is needed. It rejects the idea that conditions will ever align in a flawless way. Instead, it suggests that waiting for certainty is one of the main reasons people stay stuck. Life rarely presents situations that feel fully ready or fully safe, and if someone waits for that kind of moment, they often miss the opportunity entirely. Courage is placed at the center of this conclusion, but not as something dramatic or heroic in appearance. It's described more as a quiet decision to move forward despite not having all the answers. It's the ability to act while uncertainty still exists, rather than allowing uncertainty to become a reason for inaction. The script frames courage as something practical, something that shows up in behavior, not just in thought. It's not about eliminating fear, but about not letting fear control direction. Trusting instincts becomes another key part of this message. Instinct here represents the deeper awareness built through experience, reflection, and internal growth. It's the part of a person that recognizes what feels right or necessary even when logic is clouded by doubt. The script suggests that overthinking often weakens this connection, while action strengthens it. The more a person listens to and acts on their instincts, the clearer those instincts become over time. Embracing uncertainty is presented not as something comfortable, but as something unavoidable. Uncertainty is described as a constant condition of meaningful decisions. Instead of trying to eliminate it, the script encourages acceptance of it. This acceptance changes the relationship with fear. It becomes something present but not controlling. Uncertainty stops being a signal to stop and starts becoming a space in which action is still possible. The idea of accepting one's role is also important in the conclusion. This doesn't refer to a fixed identity in a rigid sense, but rather recognizing the position one is in at a given moment. It's about acknowledging that the opportunity or challenge in front of them requires participation, not avoidance. Waiting for a better version of oneself is framed as another form of delay. The script emphasizes that readiness is not something you wait for, it's something you demonstrate through action. What ties all of this together is the rejection of ideal conditions. The conclusion makes it clear that waiting for everything to feel right can become a trap that prevents progress entirely. Instead, movement itself is what creates clarity. Action leads to understanding, not the other way around. By stepping forward, even imperfectly, a person begins to shape the outcome rather than merely anticipating it. In essence, the script ends on a grounded but demanding truth. Transformation does not come from preparation alone, but from the willingness to act when the moment arrives. Courage is not abstract, instincts are not passive, and uncertainty is not a barrier. It is the environment in which growth actually happens. Success in this framing belongs to those who move despite not knowing everything, rather than those who wait until everything feels certain enough to begin.